Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19 Cousins. So, folks, it happened. The WNBA couldn't avoid giving Caitlin Clark Player of the Week. Now, I thought they were going to get a little sneaky because they didn't do it for the legit week, which would have been the first two games back. They extended it a little bit, as they had done before when they took away Player of the Week, but she was playing so well they had to give it to her, especially when the AP preempted them and came out with Caitlin Clark Player of the Week award. So this is the first three games back. This doesn't include the Dream game. Player of the Week, 25 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. The Dream game was what we would consider not a great game for Caitlin Clark, right? For the team. That's what I think was influenced more by the team. I was critical of her passing up open shots, but the rest of it was all about the team and Christy Sides and that half court offense crap and Kelsey Mitchell chucking up shots. But anyway, I did that in another video. We're going to look at the positives of this, and they got a game against Connecticut Sun tonight. And this right here, I'm going to show you this one clip. This is the type of stuff that the Fever do when they're winning. This is the stuff you don't see them do when they're losing. Right? When they're losing, it's because they're playing in quicksand, as Shane Falco would say. Right? The half-court offense, the pounding it in the paint, all that nonsense, that's how they lose games, folks. This is how they win them. Pace, pace, pace. And then on top of that pace, Caitlin Clark being that it player and getting the three-point play. Caitlin Clark had no intention of giving up that ball. She was going to take on a very good defender in Copper, and she was going to get to the basket and make a bucket. And that is the Caitlin Clark who is Player of the Week and is a legit MVP candidate. And that is how the Indiana Fever need to play if they want to win games and make some noise in the playoffs. And to that point, I want to show this. Now, what was really funny about this is this was the Dallas Wings Aces game, and of course Cheryl Swoops does the Dallas Wings game, and she had literally said nothing in this segment. The other announcer carried it in announcing the Player of the Week stuff. Cheryl Swoops said nothing. After he said it, she was just completely silent. There was dead air from the announcers until a Dallas Wings player made a big play, and Cheryl Swoops started talking about that. But like I said, legit MVP candidate. Look at these numbers, folks. This is Player of the Week for the extended week of August 15 to 25. Now, they're almost identical. Obviously, rebounds and assists are reversed because of the positions they play, but the numbers are identical. Caitlin Clark, 25 points. Nafisa Collier, 25.6. Caitlin Clark, 9 assists. Nafisa Collier, 9.2 rebounds. Caitlin Clark, 5 rebounds. Nafisa Collier, 3.4 assists. Now, why is that a huge deal? Because that week right there from Nafisa Collier, that is the post-Olympic break. That right there, those numbers, folks, are why people are now talking about Nafisa Collier as the MVP. Nafisa Collier as at least the MVP candidate to challenge A'ja Wilson. So if Nafisa Collier is legit MVP candidate and the one challenging A'ja Wilson, maybe so is Caitlin Clark, folks. How do you say the one is and the other isn't when their numbers are identical? And those are the numbers that got Collier into the conversation. Well, obvious. People saw the Aces struggling post-break, and they thought, uh-oh, we've been saying before game one, we anointed A'ja Wilson because we have so much hatred for Caitlin Clark that A'ja Wilson is not just the MVP, folks, the unanimous MVP, hands down. It's already over. It's been over all season. Then the Aces started struggling. And it was like, well, who do we go to? Well, wow, Nafisa Collier's playing lights out. Yes, she is. and her numbers are the same as Caitlin Clark's. Which brings me to this, because I thought this was really cool, and this is Sportskeeda just came out with this in their most valuable player ladder. I have not seen anyone else do what we're going to see here other than the betting line. They have Alyssa Thomas at 5. No problem with that at all. She's a stat sheet stuffer. She's playing really well. She's a triple double threat. Now, one thing, if you notice, you can see her average season 11.2 points, 9.1 rebounds, 7.9 assists. That 9 assists per game in week 12, and her points down to 8.3. She wants that assist title. That's going to be her focus. We'll see whether or not that helps or hurts the Connecticut Sun if Alyssa Thomas stops going and looking for her own offense. Now you have Breanna Stewart. Again, MVP last year, having a really, really good season. 19.7 points, just under 9 rebounds, just under 4 assists, solid numbers. But 19 plus points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Caitlin's averaging 18 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 8.2 assists. Not much different, huh? Which is why, here it is, folks. People are starting to bend. They're starting to break. They're starting to say, we're going to lose all credibility if we don't start acknowledging reality. Caitlin Clark, number 3. Look, ESPN all year has done everything they can not to put Caitlin Clark number 1 in Rookie of the Year race. How insane is that looking now, right? Angel Reese Rookie of the Year. What? They're not in the same universe, folks. Here we go. And here is the week, which was, I believe, the last 2 games. They only include the last 2 games for these numbers. 21.6 rebounds, 7.5 assists. Here's her season totals: 18 points, 5.8 rebounds, 8.2 assists, 1.4 steals. Big numbers. And don't forget how the season started, not just in terms of the Fever struggling with their record because of that difficult 11 games in 20 days playing the top teams, but because of the Christie sides. These numbers would be huge. These numbers would be 20 plus, and this would be 10. She'd be averaging a double-double, but with points and assists, if it were not for Christie Sides being her head coach. Number 2, like I just mentioned, of course, Nafisa Collier, now all of a sudden legit MVP candidate. 21 points, 10 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Again, not really different than Caitlin's 18, almost 6 rebounds, and 8.2 assists. And of course, Asia Wilson was number 1. Now, let's take a look at those other 4 folks. Breanna Stewart is on the number 1 New York Liberty because it's a stacked team with multiple Olympians. Connecticut Sun, 22-7. Stacked team. I forget how many also, but I mean, you got Dejan the Mustard Carrington, who is a great defensive guard, folks. She really is. I'm not going to deny her that. I don't like her nonsense, but she can play. Minnesota, there's Nafisa Collier's team, right? The top 3 teams. And then the defending champs, they've struggled a little since break, but they're still at 5 and 18 and 12. And it's the team that went 34-6 last year and is 2-time defending champs. And then Indiana Fever, well, they're only 14 and 16, and people want to say, well, that she can't be. But this team went 13 and 27 last year. By the way, for all of you shifting to, oh, Boston and Mitchell are so awesome and Indiana's a super team, this Indiana with Melissa Smith and with Aaliyah Boston and with Kelsey Mitchell went 13 and 27 last year. Then they added Caitlin Clark. And despite that nonsense at the beginning of the season with 8 games against top 3 teams in their first 11 and playing 11 games in 20 days, they still already have more wins with 10 games to go. Absolutely insane. So a couple more things I want to roll through real quick. Allen Iverson, just to give you an idea why I talk about best player and most valuable are different. Allen Iverson was the MVP in 2001. I know that season well as a Sixers fan. Took the Sixers all the way to the NBA Finals before they lost to a stacked LA Lakers team with Shaq and Kobe. Shaq was 3rd in voting. Kobe was 9th. And Kobe averaged almost as many points as Allen. Yeah, I mean, he has a better 28.5, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.7 steals. Allen averaged 31 points, 3.8 rebounds, 4.6 assists. Shaq, almost 29 points, almost 13 rebounds, almost 4 assists. Weber, 27 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. Kevin Garnett, 22 points, 11.5 rebounds, 5 assists. My point being, what is different is Allen Iverson was a 5'10, 160-pound soaking wet point guard that took a bunch of role players, which is why you can't name any of them unless you're a diehard longtime Sixer fan, all the way to the NBA Finals. He was the most valuable player because all these other teams, still good teams, without that, their top player. Not so with the Sixers. Guys, they had Eric Snow as their point guard. They had Aaron McKee. I mean, it was, and I'm not knocking them. It's incredible. They played their roles to the best of their ability. But there was no other legit star or anybody even sniffing all-star status on that team. They had a 5'10 point guard. And I know he's listed at 6 feet, but I can tell you from standing next to him, he's not 6 feet. That is what I'm talking about. That is what, for me, a great, and it doesn't happen often, but that's a great example of, look, you could make legit cases that a number of these guys had better seasons. They were better players that year, but they weren't more valuable than Allen Iverson was to that Sixers teams. Right, which goes to this. This is Mulkey, the LSU coach, after LSU lost to Iowa, talking about Caitlin Clark. She's just a generational player, and she just makes everybody around her better. That's what the great ones do. Caitlin Clark is not going to beat you by herself. It's what she does to make those other teammates better that helps her score points and them score points to beat you. Yes, 100%. Very few stars are stars that also make their teams better just by being out there. And Caitlin Clark does that. And that is a huge part of being valuable that you don't even see in the individual players' statistics. And just, to just throw a little extra on here, I went and put in WNBA player seasons with 500 points, 170 rebounds, 245 assists, 40 steals, and 25 blocks. One player came back. That was Caitlin Clark. And these aren't her numbers. She actually has 539 points, right? So she's already ahead. She has 173 rebounds, 247 assists, 42 steals, and 25 blocks, and 10 games to go. No player has stuffed a stat sheet like that for a season. And I'm going to leave you with one other little thing that is just annoying. She was left off of the all WNBA first team. Now, obviously, this isn't legit end of year, but no, this is as voted currently, and you can see this was in the last day, by Shocker, ESPN should have quotes around the word journalists, including Michael Vopel, who was been part of the nonsense Rookie of the Year rankings. Remember that with ESPN? They kept putting Angel Reese ahead of Caitlin Clark for Rookie of the Year when, by any measure, Caitlin Clark is a legit top 3 MVP candidate. ESPN is just embarrassing themselves and losing all credibility. And I'm going to leave it there. I just wanted to give a props video to Caitlin Clark, updated to where she is. Shout out to Sportskeeda for having her on that list because I've seen no one else willing to talk about it. I wanted to make sure, now that you're all hearing about Nafisa Collier all the time, that her numbers and the reason you're here about flat out identical to Caitlin Clark's. Right? This is crazy. Oh, by the way, I haven't put it up yet. I was debating whether I was going to or not, but I did a video because I saw something about some changes ESPN was making. So I did a video blasting ESPN, talking about why they're going to fail and all their nonsense, which is shocking that these are the ESPN people that did this. But if you want to see that video, let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know your thoughts on Caitlin Clark for MVP. Look, I'm not saying she's going to win it. I don't think they're going to let her win it. But to say she's not a contender and a top 3 contender for MVP is ridiculous at this point. But let me know if you think she's going to even get the votes to finish that. Who do you think's going to win? Are they still going to give it to Wilson? Playoffs don't matter. They're not supposed to matter for regular season awards like MVP. But the Aces have been struggling. So we shall see. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Thanks so much for checking out this video. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does mean a lot. I can't believe we're actually closing in on 8,000. We could hit 8,000 soon. I think we're over 7,700. But thanks so much for all of you who have been subscribing, liking, comment. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to leave it there. Continue to have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you later.